But the more he talks, the less I like him. And I've said this before about Johnny Manziel or Baker Mayfield. Your personality at quarterback in college matters. And by the way, I talked to GMs. It matters to them too. Cam Newton came out. Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield. A lot of chutzpah, a lot of ego. It turns off a lot of people. Shedeur Sanders, we've reached a point here, we've reached a line where he should just talk less and not be up front as much because I think it could hurt his draft stock. Because I do think he's really talented. And I will say this, he went out talking about how tough it is to be, at Colorado because, they're a Super Bowl for everybody.
Everybody's Super Bowl, so I'm really just, I always stay level-headed, stay grounded because I would never want to be that guy, look back, and not being able to take advantage of the moment that we have right now.
So you're not everybody's Super Bowl. Your last 6 games last year, you went 0 for 6. Your over-under in Vegas is 5.5, and the toughest game in your schedule is Utah. You're getting to I'm feeling there's a threshold here, and I think we're moving into the delusion threshold. And I do think, I'm not going to tell anybody how to parent, but Shedeur Sanders it's like the opposite of the Alabama dynasty. A lot of talking and no production. Alabama, Nick did the talking, nobody else talked, and all sorts of production. And that's why Alabama guys get drafted. They're coachable. They don't come. They're not flammable when they get to the NFL. They've been coached hard. And it's not about the personality. This is not the NBA or international soccer. It's football. Nobody's interested in your personality. Once you get into the league and you're a performer, we're all for it. But when you're in college to the pros, be very careful. It can absolutely be part of the quarterback evaluation. I mean, Caleb Williams was getting heat because he painted his fingernails. He never said anything that would get him in trouble. He never really did anything on the field that would get him into trouble. But people push back on the fingernails. Some people, I thought, stupidly pushed back because he embraced his mom after a tough loss. That was judged. Fingernail paint. So it's very interesting. Garnering attention does not equal draft status elevated. Like a lot of people draw attention. Lindsay Lohan and Paris Hilton got a lot of attention. It doesn't mean you're formidable or authentic or appealing. I do think Colorado's getting into a weird spot where it's a lot of talking, and now I want to see production. Like I was for Deion and the spotlight because, football recruiting, Colorado's invisible. So I do think Deion, I thought about it. I remember the time he got hired, my initial thought was this is a weird fit. And then over the weekend, I'm like, well, he'll get him attention, recruiting's attention. Nobody knows where Colorado's, on the map of college football. They're up in the mountains somewhere. Oh, this will work. But at some point, you got to deliver on it. You got to deliver on the talk or stop talking. And I worry about Shedeur Sanders he is now front and center of the program. You are not everybody's Super Bowl. You may finish 8th in the Big 12, which is not a viable conference anymore. Now that Texas and Oklahoma have left, it's not very viable. So we'll see. It's like the financial bros on Twitter. If you really know finances, you're probably not spending time lecturing people on Twitter. You're just a Twitter bro, a financial Twitter bro. Like Colorado needs to me, pull back a little on the exposure because according to the recruiting sites, the NIL, they've been actually pretty successful on it. Their line play, they've elevated line play. And I do hope Colorado wins. I think it's a great story. I like stories. And I do think Shedeur Sanders is really talented. I think he's really talented. But I've spent my 30 years doing this, and most general managers do not want their quarterbacks to be big personalities and on message boards and dropping bombs. And Colorado's at a really weird point going into this college football season. The attention in year one was great, but they were bad down the stretch. And that means, hey, you can say what you want. But I think the story of college football outside of the top 4 or 5 teams, the Colorado story is getting really, really interesting. Is that they're the most talked about team that doesn't win any games, and I don't know if that's a great spot. And Shedeur can say whatever he wants. I mean, if you get asked questions, you can say what you want. But I've watched my entire career. Bill Parcells used to have a rule. Do not draft celebrity quarterbacks. Now, that's impossible now. They're all celebrities. They have NIL money. So you can't say that anymore. Shedeur is going to be a star, and he's really talented, like really talented. But it is there. I feel with Colorado football, like they're making the news for the wrong stuff now. They got to start making the news for the football stuff and the winning the games thing.
I think last year, I wonder if they almost hurt themselves expectation-wise. They opened, they beat TCU, who's coming off a national championship appearance. They start off really hot. Shedeur looks like a Heisman candidate, and the expectation is now all of a sudden this is a top 15 team, and then they hit rock bottom.
Listen, it changes when you're an underdog.
Yeah,
Shedeur Sanders is a cool story and an underdog. Well, he goes into this next season
is one of the premier players in the country.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
he may be the most talented quarterback. So it's very different. You go from a cubicle to the corner office at work. Different things are expected. Shedeur goes from, last year we had like 6 legitimate NFL quarterbacks. He's page 3 of the sports section story. Oh, no, he's the lead story in college football in terms of quarterback talent. I think he's the most talented quarterback. I think the kid at Penn State is really good. I don't think he's as good as Shedeur, but it's going to be interesting because Deion wants the promotion, wants the headlines. He's good at creating them. So is Shedeur. But, dude, you are now arguably, potentially the number 1 pick. It's going to be fascinating to watch the personality thing here work. You want to make headlines for the right reasons. Colorado is nobody's Super Bowl.
But I think they can win 8 games. They had a terrible offensive line last year. They got the number 1 prospect offensive lineman coming in. They also have Travis Hunter, who's a potential top 5 pick as well. So they have 2.
But their defense was high school.
Yeah, but they've improved it, to your point. A lot of guys left in the portal, but they also brought in a lot of guys. I think they're going to be better this year.
I hope so.
So what would be successful? 7 wins? 8 wins?
Oh, I think if they won 8 games, I think you'd feel great about it.
Okay.
But what the more interesting part to me isn't just Colorado, it's Shedeur may be the best quarterback in college football. Now, outside of the Ohio State, Oregon, Alabama, Georgia, Texas, Oklahoma, the big boy talk, and the 12-team playoff, Shedeur's going to be a big story. And it's going to be fascinating to watch him be in, because he's going to have microphones in his face all year. He could be the number 1 pick potentially.
Yeah, I've had teams tell me, though, how he handles it this year.
The media.
In year 2 is really what's going to determine.
There's no question.
Yeah.
This is not a criticism. This is a reality. He is going to be the Caleb Williams. Look at the Caleb Williams nonsense criticism for nail polish. This is nonsense. Yeah, became a real story.
It did. And also, he didn't want to speak to the media, after the Utah game. There was criticism about that.
For not talking.
Right. I think Sanders, to your point, Colin, he's a special talent.
Oh, I think he's terrific.
He's got all of it. It's just now, how do you handle all the pressure of being the hunted?
From page 3 to page 1. Yeah. Caleb was a star out of high school. Shedeur's gone from page 3. He is now the lead story, page 1. It's going to be fascinating. He's going to have a microphone in his face all season. I can't wait to watch it. Jalen Johnson's around the corner. Chicago Bears. Also, Alexi Lawless. What to make of what happened with the